You ever notice how everybody thinks the world's falling apart? Every conversation starts with, "Did you hear what happened?" and ends with, "We're doomed." But the truth is, the world isn't broken, it's just loud. It's like walking into a crowded restaurant where everyone's screaming their order at once, and you're just sitting there trying to eat your meal without spilling your sanity. We've built this massive digital stadium where everyone's performing, reacting, overreacting, apologizing for reacting, and then reacting to their own apology. And somewhere in between all that, we wonder why we feel exhausted all the time. It's not that everything is terrible, it's that everything is available. You don't just hear about one bad thing anymore. You hear about all the bad things everywhere, all at once, and in high definition. We're tuned into the global suffering network 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. There's no off switch. Even when you close your phone, you can still feel it buzzing in your head like a ghost notification saying, "Hey, someone out there just said something dumb," and you should probably get upset about it. And that's the thing, we confuse awareness with participation. We think scrolling is the same as caring. We mistake knowing for doing. You see a tragedy, you share a post, maybe you add a sad emoji, and somehow that tiny digital gesture convinces you that you've contributed to the solution. But deep down, you know nothing changed. You just witnessed another piece of chaos, added it to your emotional backpack, and moved on. And over time, that backpack gets heavier. It's not depression, it's the weight of awareness in a world that never stops yelling. There used to be silence in life, moments of stillness. You'd walk outside, hear the wind, maybe a dog barking, and that was it. Now, every quiet second feels suspicious. You pause, and your brain immediately says, "You should." Be checking something. You can't even watch the sunset without thinking, "Should I post this or just enjoy it?" And even when you decide to enjoy it, a voice in your head goes, "Well, no one will know you enjoyed it." It's madness disguised as modern living. We've mistaken constant stimulation for meaning. We chase every ping like it's a purpose. And the more we consume, the less we actually experience. It's like emotional fast food, cheap, quick, and leaves you hollow 10 minutes later. We've built this culture of noise where silence feels like failure. If you're not posting, producing, or reacting, people think something's wrong. But maybe that's the point. Maybe something is wrong, not with us individually, but with the fact that we forgot how to just exist without performing it. And when you pay attention to all this, it messes with you. You start seeing patterns. You realize how easily people get outraged, how quickly they forget, how performative empathy has become. You watch everyone racing to look like they care more than the next person, and you can't help but think, is anyone actually okay? And that thought right there, it's what people mistake for depression. But it's not sadness out of nowhere. It's what happens when you're awake in a world that keeps telling you to stay asleep. It's funny though, because once you really start noticing, you can't unsee it. The fake smiles, the filtered perfection, the inspirational quotes next to pictures of people who are falling apart behind the camera, it's all theater. And the weird part is, everyone knows it's theater, but we all clap anyway. Because deep down, we're afraid to admit we see the cracks. We're afraid to say, "Hey, I think everyone's pretending." Because if you do, people treat you like a downer, like you're bringing bad vibes into their curated feed of fake sunshine. But awareness isn't negativity, it's honesty. It's not. That you don't see the good in the world, it's that you see all of it. The good, the bad, and the absurd, and your brain's just trying to reconcile it. You can't unlearn that the world runs on contradictions. You can't forget that behind every smiling post, there's a hidden struggle. And when you start recognizing that pattern everywhere, yeah, it can feel heavy, but that heaviness isn't depression. It's the weight of being tuned in to reality. And you know what's strange? Once you stop fighting it, it starts to make sense. You begin to appreciate the noise for what it is, a distraction machine. You stop expecting clarity from chaos. You stop expecting meaning from algorithms. You start realizing that not everything needs your reaction. Not every opinion deserves your outrage. And not every story needs your emotional investment. You begin to filter what deserves your attention. And suddenly, the world quiets down a little. The truth is, paying attention doesn't make you miserable. It just makes you aware of how absurd everything is. The news is basically a horror movie with commercials for antidepressants in between scenes. Social media is like being trapped at a party where everyone's shouting their highlight reel into your face. But once you see it, once you understand it, you can laugh at it instead of drowning in it. You can look at the chaos and say, all right, that's insane, and move on without letting it poison your peace. And maybe that's what balance really is, not ignorance, but selective attention. You can't shut out the world completely, but you can choose what deserves space in your head. You can stop mistaking noise for connection and start reconnecting with silence, with simplicity, with real moments that don't need an audience. You can stop running from discomfort and start recognizing it as part of being alive. Because when you start paying real attention, not to headlines, but to life, you realize that the world isn't as broken as it seems. It's just drowning in commentary. Every generation thinks theirs is the end of the world, but what if this is just the sound of us collectively realizing how messy it's always been? Maybe it's not collapse, it's awareness. Maybe this is what growing up as a species looks like. Realizing that the systems we built are noisy, imperfect, and often ridiculous. But within that noise, there's still laughter, there's still kindness, there's still beauty that doesn't need validation to exist. You just have to turn down the volume enough to notice it. So no, I'm not depressed. I'm just paying attention. And if that makes me seem sad sometimes, it's only because I can hear the static everyone's trying to pretend isn't there. But the good news is, once you start noticing it, once you accept that the world is loud and messy and full of contradictions, you can finally stop trying to fix it all and just live in it. Not escape it, not drown in it, but live in it with your eyes open, your humor intact, and your sanity protected by a simple truth. The world isn't broken, it's just loud. We've been tricked into believing that happiness is supposed to be this permanent state, like something you buy once and then just keep forever, like a lifetime warranty for your emotions. Every commercial, every influencer, every self-help quote on your feed is basically screaming the same thing. You should be happy all the time, and if you're not, there's something wrong with you. You need a new routine, a new supplement, a new mindset, a new phone wallpaper with mountains and the word grind written across it. We've turned happiness into a product and sadness into a malfunction. But life isn't a customer service hotline where you call and say, "Hi, my Joy stopped working. Can you reboot it?" The truth is, happiness was never meant to be constant. It's supposed to come and go, just like hunger or tiredness. You don't stay full forever after one meal, right? You don't sleep once and say, well, that's it for the rest of my life. But that's how we treat happiness. We hit a good moment, a success, a compliment, a lucky break, and we cling to it like we found the secret formula. And when it fades, we panic. What happened? Why don't I feel that anymore? What happened is reality. That's what happened. The world sold us this illusion that happy people have their lives together, that they wake up glowing and meditate before breakfast while humming gratitude mantras. But if you've ever actually met someone like that, you know they're usually one traffic jam away from losing their minds. Because pretending to be happy all the time is exhausting. It's not joy, it's performance. And most of us are just too tired to keep pretending. The funny part is, sadness gets such a bad reputation, but it's one of the most honest emotions there is. You can fake excitement, you can fake confidence, but sadness, that's raw. That's truth. It shows up when something matters. It's your mind's way of saying, hey, that meant something to you. But we don't like hearing that. We treat sadness like a virus. We try to cure it immediately, scroll it away, drink it away, shop it away, distract it until it stops knocking. But what if sadness isn't an enemy? What if it's just proof that you're alive, that you're paying attention to the parts of life that aren't easy? Because when you really think about it, if you were happy all the time, you wouldn't even notice. It would stop meaning anything. It's the contrast that gives happiness value. The dark days make the bright ones glow. The tears make the laughter hit harder. You can't appreciate the sunshine if you've never been stuck in the rain. And the older you get, the more you realize that chasing constant happiness is just another form of running from reality, from growth, from yourself. Somewhere along the line, we started thinking that feeling down is a personal failure. People post things like, if you're not smiling, you're wasting your life. Really? Tell that to someone going through grief or heartbreak or just trying to make rent. Life isn't a motivational poster. It's messy, it's unpredictable, it's unfair, and sometimes it's hilarious in the worst ways. You can't Photoshop your emotions and call it enlightenment. Real happiness doesn't come from pretending everything's fine. It comes from knowing everything isn't fine and still finding a reason to keep going anyway. And you know what's really strange? When you stop chasing happiness, it starts showing up more often. Because suddenly you're not measuring it. You're not comparing it to someone else's filtered version. You're not saying, I should be happier by now. You're just living. And in those quiet, ordinary moments, like when you make a perfect cup of coffee, or your dog looks at you like you're the best person on earth, or you laugh so hard your stomach hurts, you realize, this is it. This is happiness. Not the big cinematic kind with fireworks and orchestras, but the small, human kind that sneaks up on you when you're not performing for it. We keep thinking happiness is supposed to be grand, but sometimes it's just peace. Sometimes it's being okay with not being okay. Sometimes it's getting out of bed when your brain tells you to stay down. Sometimes it's laughing at something dumb in the middle of a bad day. We spend so much energy trying to fix our emotions that we forget to feel them. But the truth is, you can't fix what isn't broken. You're not supposed to be happy all the time. You're supposed to be human all the time. And maybe that's the real lie, the idea that humans are supposed to function like machines. Machines don't get tired. Machines don't feel. Machines don't doubt themselves. But you get sad, you get scared, you get lost, and that's exactly what makes you capable of joy. You can't appreciate light without darkness. The ability to feel deeply is what makes life beautiful, even when it hurts, especially when it hurts. There's this strange freedom that comes with accepting that happiness isn't a destination, it's a visitor. It comes, it goes, it comes again. It doesn't owe you anything, and you don't owe it perfection. Once you stop trying to control it, you start seeing it everywhere. In mistakes, in moments of rest, even in tears. You realize that sadness doesn't erase happiness, it deepens it. Like layers of a song, every emotion adds something to the melody of your life. And isn't that what we all want, really? Not endless happiness, but meaning. Something real. Something that lasts longer than a dopamine hit from likes or followers or compliments. Happiness fades, but meaning sticks. And sometimes the most meaningful moments aren't the ones that make you smile. They're the ones that make you stop, breathe, and think, wow, this hurts, but it matters. We keep trying to edit our emotions like they're a bad photo. But life isn't meant to be polished. It's supposed to be lived. Some days you'll feel unstoppable. Some days you'll feel invisible. And both are part of the same story. You're not broken because you have bad days. You're human because you have all kinds of days. So the next time you feel like you're losing your happiness, don't panic. Don't go looking for a fix. Just sit with it. Feel it. Let it teach you something. Because happiness isn't a permanent state. It's a signal that you're alive in the full range of human experience. And if that experience sometimes hurts, that's okay. That's what gives it texture, weight, and truth. Because maybe the point of life isn't to be happy all the time. Maybe it's to be real, to feel everything, joy, sorrow, confusion, laughter, and keep showing up anyway. To live so honestly that even your sadness has meaning. And when you can do that, when you stop chasing happiness like it's a prize and start living like every emotion has its place, you finally understand what peace feels like. Not the loud, glittery kind. The quiet, grounded kind that says, I'm okay, even when I'm not. We live in a world where the moment we feel something uncomfortable, we rush to fix it. You feel anxious, and immediately you're Googling 10 ways to stop anxiety. You feel lonely, and suddenly you're downloading every app that promises connection. You feel sad, and your brain says, there's something wrong with me. I need to get rid of this right now. But what if there's nothing wrong? What if the feeling itself isn't the problem? What if the problem is that we've forgotten how to feel without trying to fix? We've been conditioned to believe that. Every unpleasant emotion is a glitch. We treat sadness like it's a software bug that needs an update. But emotions aren't errors, they're signals. They're messages from parts of you that still care, that are still alive, that haven't gone numb yet. And that's the thing most people miss. Numbing yourself isn't healing, it's hiding. And hiding might give you relief for a moment, but it also costs you something deeper, your connection to yourself. Think about how often we try to distract ourselves when something feels off. The second discomfort shows up, we grab our phones, open social media, scroll through other people's fake joy, and hope it rubs off. But all it does is push the emotion down for later, where it waits, quietly stacking up until it eventually bursts through at the worst possible time. You ever notice that? You're fine for weeks, and then suddenly you cry because your sandwich fell apart? That's not about the sandwich. That's every unprocessed feeling you refuse to deal with, showing up uninvited. The truth is, feeling deeply takes courage. It's uncomfortable, it's messy, and it doesn't always come with answers, but it's real. And there's something powerful about sitting in that reality and saying, okay, this hurts, but I'm gonna stay, because that's how you build emotional strength. Not by avoiding pain, but by learning that pain won't destroy you. It's not permanent, it passes. Every feeling has an expiration date if you just let it exist long enough. We don't let ourselves sit with emotions anymore because sitting with them feels like doing nothing. And we live in a culture that worships productivity, even in healing. We want to achieve peace, like it's a trophy. But you can't rush through emotions like a to-do list. You can't outsmart sadness or negotiate with grief. The only way out is through. And the only way through is to actually feel what's happening, to name it, to breathe through it, to let it unfold without trying to slap a motivational quote on top. There's beauty in slowing down enough to notice what's really going on inside you. When you stop running, you start hearing the truth behind the noise. Sometimes you realize you're not actually angry, you're hurt. You're not bored, you're lonely. You're not broken, you're tired. Emotions have layers, and most of us never dig past the first one because we're too busy trying to make it disappear. But when you actually stay long enough to understand what the emotion is trying to tell you, it changes shape. It becomes softer, less scary. You start realizing that maybe the feeling wasn't the enemy, it was the teacher. And here's the thing about allowing yourself to feel. It doesn't make you weak, it makes you free. The things you refuse to face end up controlling you. The pain you keep avoiding builds walls around your life. But the moment you look at it, name it, and let it breathe, it loses its power. You reclaim it. You stop being defined by what you're running from. And that's where real peace starts, not from fixing everything, but from accepting what you can't fix and choosing to live anyway. We're so quick to distract ourselves that we forget how healing presence can be. You ever sit with a friend who doesn't try to fix your problems, who just listens, nods, and says, yeah, that's tough? That's all most of us need. We crave presence, not solutions. And the same applies to yourself. You don't need to solve your emotions, you just need to be present with them. You have to become your own witness. Because when you sit with yourself long enough, without judgment, you start to realize how temporary everything really is. Anger, sadness, loneliness, they all come and go like weather. You are the sky, not the storm. But we live in a time where people mistake distraction for healing. You feel sad? Watch a series. You feel anxious? Take a selfie. You feel lost? Start a new hobby, maybe 5 of them. It's like we're allergic to stillness. But the truth is, every emotion you refuse to feel waits for you. And it doesn't go away until it's acknowledged. The longer you ignore it, the louder it gets. That's why so many people feel burned out. They're not tired from doing too much. They're tired from feeling too little and pretending they're fine. When you stop numbing yourself, something amazing happens. You start feeling everything again, not just the pain. The laughter gets louder, the small moments feel bigger, and even ordinary days carry weight. That's the trade-off. The deeper you're willing to feel the hard stuff, the more capacity you have to feel the good stuff. People think emotional numbness protects them, but it doesn't. It just flattens the whole experience of being alive. You can't selectively numb. If you block out pain, you block out joy too. And maybe that's what courage looks like now. Not running toward happiness, but sitting with reality and saying, this is what it is, and I'm still here. You don't have to fix every feeling to grow. You just have to let it move through you. Cry when you need to. Laugh when it surprises you. Take breaks when you're overwhelmed. Let yourself be human without turning it into a project. Because the more you let yourself feel, the less afraid you become of feeling. And that's real freedom. There's so much strength in not turning away from yourself. We keep looking for healing in books, quotes, podcasts, anything that tells us how to stop hurting. But maybe the answer isn't in escaping pain. Maybe it's in finally giving it the space it's been asking for. You don't heal by avoiding your emotions, you heal by giving them a voice, by listening to what they've been trying to say all along. So the next time you feel sad or angry or anxious, don't rush to fix it. Don't grab a distraction. Just breathe. Let it be there without trying to justify it or label it, because that's what being alive is, feeling it all, the full range, without apology. It's not comfortable, but it's real. And in a world full of fake comfort, realness is rare. When you can sit with your emotions without needing to escape them, you realize you were never broken, you were just human the whole time. You know what's funny? We spend so much time pretending everything's fine that we actually start to believe that pretending is living. We pace smiles over exhaustion, laughter over loneliness, filters over reality, and somehow convince ourselves that's what strength looks like. But real strength isn't about pretending things are okay, it's about being honest enough to admit they're not and still showing up anyway. It's about looking at the world, seeing the madness, the noise, the pain, and saying, yeah, I see it, and I'm still here. Because that's what paying attention really means. It's not cynicism, it's clarity. The world teaches us early that if you look too closely, you'll lose your joy. People say, don't watch too much news, it's depressing. Or, don't think too hard about that, you'll just make yourself sad. But maybe the sadness isn't the problem. Maybe the problem is that we keep trying to escape reality instead of learning how to live within it. When you pay attention, you start noticing that most people are just trying to hold it together. Behind every confident face is a quiet struggle. Behind every success story is 1,000 tiny moments of doubt, fear, and almost giving up. And when you realize that, something shifts. You stop judging people so harshly. You start understanding that everyone's just doing their best, even when it doesn't look like it. Paying attention is uncomfortable because it removes the illusions that make life easier to digest. You start to see how people wear masks to survive. You see how systems fail, how people hurt each other out of fear, how so much of what we call normal is just collective denial. But here's the thing, it's not supposed to be comfortable. Awareness isn't meant to be soft. It's meant to wake you up. And once you're awake, once you really see things as they are, that's when you get to make a choice. Do you stay bitter about it, or do you find light in it anyway? Because that's where the real courage comes in, not in ignorance, but in the decision to keep your heart open after seeing the truth. It's easy to be hopeful when everything's perfect. The real test is whether you can still laugh, still love, still care, even when you know how messy the world is. And maybe that's what finding light actually means. It's not about searching for something external. It's about discovering that even in the middle of all this chaos, there's still something good in you that refuses to give up. And once you start living that way, life changes. You stop expecting it to be fair. You stop expecting people to always understand you. You stop waiting for perfect conditions to feel joy. Instead, you start finding it in the cracks, in the small, absurd, beautiful details that make life worth living. Like the way a stranger holds the door open without expecting thanks. Or the way the sky looks right before a storm, dark but alive. You realize that paying attention doesn't just make you see the darkness more clearly, it also makes you see the light more vividly. It's weird though, when you start being real, people don't always know what to do with you. They'll say, you're too intense, or you think too much, or why can't you just relax? Because being honest about life makes people uncomfortable. Most folks want optimism with a side of denial. They want comfort, not truth. But here's the thing, comfort fades, truth stays. And if you're brave enough to stay with it, it eventually gives you something deeper than comfort, peace. Not the kind of peace that comes from pretending everything's fine, but the kind that comes from saying, yeah, everything's a mess, but I'm still okay. That kind of peace doesn't need noise. It doesn't need validation. It's quiet. It's grounded. It's the peace that comes from finally accepting that the world will never be perfect, and neither will you, and that's completely fine. It's the moment you stop needing life to make sense and just start appreciating it for what it is, this chaotic, unpredictable, ridiculous ride that somehow manages to be beautiful anyway. You start realizing that light isn't something you chase, it's something you cultivate. It's the way you choose to look at things. It's the way you choose to respond when life punches you in the gut. It's deciding to laugh instead of giving up. It's choosing kindness in a world that rewards cruelty. It's staying open when everything in you wants to shut down. That's light. And the crazy thing is, it's always there. You just have to be honest enough to see it. And yeah, sometimes honesty hurts. It strips away all the convenient lies we hide behind. But that's the price of clarity. You can't see clearly without first wiping away the fog. You can't find meaning without first admitting that sometimes life feels meaningless. But when you do that, when you face the discomfort, you earn a kind of peace that can't be shaken. You stop needing constant positivity to keep you going, because you found something sturdier than that. You found truth. You begin to notice that even in the darkest places, people still care for each other. Even in failure, there's humility. Even in endings, there's renewal. And that's when you realize that paying attention isn't about focusing on the bad. It's about seeing everything, the whole picture, and still choosing to live with heart. You stop looking for a perfect world and start appreciating the imperfect one you've got. You stop asking for everything to make sense and start dancing with the nonsense. And maybe that's what happiness really is, not the absence of pain, but the acceptance of life as it is. Not polished, not filtered, not easy, but real. Because once you see clearly, you can finally stop running from the chaos and start finding meaning in it. You realize that life isn't something to figure out, it's something to feel. And when you let yourself feel it fully, the pain, the joy, the confusion, the laughter, it all blends together into something deeply, unmistakably human. So no, I don't want to be blind to what's happening in the world. I don't want to numb myself just to survive it. I'd rather see it all, the beauty, the tragedy, the absurdity, because that's the price of being awake. And maybe that's the point. Maybe we're not supposed to find peace by closing our eyes, but by keeping them open and learning how to live with what we see. Because the truth is, the light isn't somewhere else waiting to be found. It's right here, in the honesty, in the awareness, in the act of choosing to stay awake while everyone else looks away. And that choice to stay, to see, to keep feeling is what makes you alive.